If you want to network, the most important principle is to build yourself first, become an expert at one thing or at something, and then use that as a leverage to get to the people that you want to get to and get what you need from them, as long as you give back. I believe in the win-win. Never, ever, ever, ever reach out to someone or try and network with someone if you have nothing to bring to the table, because then you're just going to be a waste of time. If you try and network with someone once and you wasted their time, they're never going to forget you. And then you're not going to have a second chance.
I study the patterns of the universe.
Masters to the brain.
Virtual your mind. Talking about your life. Fundamental principles.
Philosophy.
What is and what is not true.
Those who know themselves.
Being better every single day.
Hey there, welcome back. Thank you for being here for another episode of the Think Grow podcast, where personal development meets real life. I'm your host, Ruben Chavez, and on this show, I aim to explore a variety of different topics with people from all sorts of different backgrounds, psychologists, researchers, artists, entrepreneurs, all sorts of interesting people, with the goal to bring you different perspectives that you can use in your own life to enrich your mind and improve your life in whatever way you see fit. Today, I'm speaking with Farrokh Sarmad. Farokh was one of the very first people that I connected with when I got onto Instagram in 2014, when I started Think, Grow, Prosper. And he's an impressive guy. He's a young guy, and he has, over the years, built a hugely successful social media-based business, and I've watched him do it from the ground up. He started with really nothing, and he was, 18 or 19 years old when I first met him, to now he has been able to work with these huge companies and have this diverse client list ranging from L'Oreal all the way to Dom Perignon, and everything in between. So he's done very well for himself, and he's a really impressive guy. Farokh is a social media expert and entrepreneur. That's probably the best way to think about what he does. But really, what he really does is network effectively. And that's what we talk about in this conversation. And I use that word network with caution because I know that it can sometimes have a mercenary connotation, as though it's all about getting what you want with no regard for anyone else. And as you'll see, and as Farokh explains, it goes way beyond that. That's not what networking is about. It's actually a life philosophy of genuinely wanting to help others. It's an approach. It's a holistic approach to relationships. And so this is truly one of Farokh's superpowers and a huge contributing factor to his success. And in our conversation, you'll hear how he's cultivated this skill over the years and how it's allowed him not only to just work with these big companies, but also get the attention of influential and powerful people ranging from business powerhouses like Gary Vaynerchuk to even celebrities and rappers like Soulja Boy, which is really funny. Again, he's able to connect with such a diverse range of people that it makes one question, it definitely makes me question, what is it that he's doing? What skill set does he have, and how does he approach relationships? And so that's what this conversation is about. If you are an entrepreneur, especially if you are someone who networking doesn't come particularly natural to, I would highly recommend listening to this conversation. I'd say I'm probably one of those people. I don't talk with a lot of people on a daily basis, even digitally. So it was useful for me to kind of bounce some ideas off of Farokh and to get his feedback and just kind of pick his brain and see how he approaches relationships. I think a lot of you will find value in this. Let me know what you think. Here's Farokh. Okay, I kind of want to start this off by asking you what you do, but not in a sense like I'm your equal or I'm someone who has any context for what you do, because I think that can get a little jargony and confusing. But like if you were to explain what you do to someone who has no idea what any of this social media stuff is, or someone who has a very basic knowledge about what it is, how would you describe that?
I own my company called Good Life Meaning Communication. And what we do at Good Life Meaning Communication is we do marketing and branding and build communication strategies and growth strategies online for clients, specifically on social media. And obviously my expertise is on Instagram. So that's one vertical of my company.
Okay, so you help companies grow their social media.
Not just grow, we run marketing campaigns for them. So it's not just growth. It's like we get you in front of eyes. Like if a company needs to have X amount of millions of impressions, we get that for you. It's not just growth. Some clients want pure growth. Some clients want visibility. It's different.
How's that different? So some people want the numbers to go up. Some people just want like their brand recognition to improve.
Exactly. Brand awareness. So Lionsgate, they don't care about the amount of followers they have. I'm not saying they don't care, but that's not what they pay you for. They pay to have their movie seen by X amount of people, just like on TV. But Ruben Chavez maybe will pay me to grow to 100,000 followers. Difference. And then the other vertical of my company we started this year is that we do e-commerce.
You do e-commerce?
Yes, we do e-commerce, meaning that we build brands in the back end and build stores for celebrities and influencers. We run all the customer support, all the customer service. We have virtual assistants working 24/7 on live chats, etc. We find viral products. We find products that would be good for the brand that we're working with. Like if we're working with a brand related to, let's say, I don't know, well, the rap brand will sell something around rap, chains and stuff. And we're working with we just started like a calligraphy account. Like there's a calligraphy account that reached out to us to build a store for them. Like we'll sell pens, it's very broad, but we build it for influencers that are already set up in place, and we'll try and build a brand for them. And then we run all the marketing in the back end, meaning the Instagram and Facebook retargeting campaigns and marketing campaigns. So we do media buying for the store as well.
Got it. Okay, so those are kind of two distinct branches of your business. One is the growth and the brand awareness, and then the other one is kind of building out products and stores, e-commerce stores for certain clients.
Right. One of them is pure media, is an intangible product, is an intangible good where we do media and communication strategies online and growth. And the other one is literally tangible goods that we sell, and like I told you earlier, I was on the phone with a supplier, is because I'm trying to source products, whether it's from China, whether it's from the USA, whether it's from anywhere, we do that stuff. So it's tangible. And then the third vertical of my company, which I hope to open later this year down the line, or maybe in 2020, is that I want to have my own in-house brands. Like they go together. Once, I've mastered branding and marketing, and I'm trying to master e-commerce and product sourcing. Once I put them both together, I can build my own brand. But until then, I will not get into that.
What do you mean that you can build your own brand?
Build my own product. Let's say, and a good example is Movement watches, right? Mm-hmm. Or like all the other brands like that in any other niche. You want to build a brand.
Like a Netflix original. It would be like a Farokh original.
Yes, I want to own my own company, my own brand. There's a lot of companies out there worth a lot of money and their brands. That's my goal, of course.
So right now you're hoping to transition from kind of helping other people grow and other people build their brands to kind of building your own company and building your own brand.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I've been watching you for a long time, and obviously we've known each other for what it's been since 2014, so like five years or so.
5 years, yeah, 5 solid years. At the end of this year will be 5 years. November 14.
I've been watching you, man, and I've seen you grow. Like you started out, I think you can correct me if I'm wrong, but not knowing really anything about like how to do any of the things that you're doing right now. You started out on Tumblr, I think, if that's correct, and then posting photos, you were editing photos, and then you switched to Instagram, and you were building a following on Instagram based on some of your aesthetics, some of your photography, and some of your edits, and then, so how did you go from that to kind of like, building up the companies that you've built up and doing what you do now?
Well, the thing is, I've been doing social media for as long as I can remember. It's funny. Like 2 days ago, I got like a message from Facebook saying like happy face anniversary or something, saying that I was 12 years on Facebook.
Damn.
So, and I'm 24 years old, so that's half of my life. So yeah, it's pretty funny. And but it goes to show you, and ever since I remember, I've always been trying to find ways to grow on social media. Like I've always been into that. So yes, Tumblr was my first, let's say, breakthrough or breakout. I don't know what the word is again. Sorry, pardon my French. And then, so I grew on Tumblr very exponentially through the luxury niche. And then I wasn't making a dime. And then I said, you know what, this Instagram thing is interesting. And then 2014, I'm like, I think like it's going to blow up. And back then it was about 100 million users, so like 1.1 billion users today or something like that. And I said, you know what, I'm going to get on Instagram. I'm going to build an audience. All the eyes are on that platform right now. Everybody's just scrolling all day long, including myself, the people around me, right? We're all like addicted to our phones. Instagram was hot. It's still hot today, but it was hot, right? But it was also like a sort of like, you know, deserted place. Like it was lost. Like people didn't really understand it or know what to do on it, right? So then I'm like, you know what, I'm going to start on Instagram. I'm going to open my niche, and then I'm going to open a bunch of accounts, and then I'm just going to offer my services to people and say, hey, I have like 25,000 followers. I can get you ads for like $50, you know? So that's how I started on it. And then I guess it developed as I grew. Like I didn't really want to be like own a marketing agency, a media company. I didn't really think I would ever even own my own brands when I started. I was a law school student, 17-year-old law school student. Okay. And I wasn't supposed to go through in that career path. And then I realized that, you know, I was always kind of an entrepreneur though. I always was very entrepreneurial since I'm very young. And I always loved business. Right. And I realized as I grew and as I started making more and more money, and as I started growing a lot of pages, you know, went from 0 to 4 million followers in a year, 0 to 10 million followers in 2 years, you know, but you've seen that because you were like my OG. Like you're one of the people, you picked me up on my first week on Instagram.
I remember that, man. I didn't realize that was your first week.
You co-signed me.
So are you saying I'm your Dr. Dre to your Eminem?
Ooh, that's a bold claim, but you know, that could be it. You're the first person to have reached out to me and say, hey, I like your pictures, and I have 1,000 followers.
Yeah, no, I'm taking far more credit than I deserve. I
do remember that though, and all credit is deserved for sure, because then we all know what happened. We started engaging in groups and stuff. So that's what I did. So no, I never expected this to become that big, and I never really had a plan for it, Ruben. Like it was never a career path for myself. I always wanted to become an entrepreneur. I always loved business, but it was never like a plan to own a media company and to like be able to like get someone in 100 million eyes within a week like that in the snap of a finger. It was never a plan for me to be starting e-commerce stores with celebrities and work with rappers and this and that. It was never my plan, but I just fell into it and I love it. And I'm very passionate about it because I love branding, I love marketing, and I love selling. And those things go very well hand in hand together. So it's really, as I grew, I started laying the bricks, brick by brick, and I started laying the foundations. And I said, you know what, I was going to start a company and I'm doing this full time. And that's what I'm doing. And then today, you know, looking back, you know, I've come quite a long way. And there's still a very long way to go. And I'm just, you know, just one day at a time, you know, just like paving my own way. It's a long journey, and I'm loving it, every second of it.
Yeah, man. I mean, I've just been so proud watching you grow, and not that I have had anything to do with your success, but just from a friend standpoint, like I really have admired the way that you've built these businesses and how hard you've worked. And I mean, they're huge businesses. Like you've done very, very well for yourself. And one of the skills that I admire most in you, and I talk about this with Vanessa, my wife, often whenever you come up in conversation, is that you are an incredible networker. Like your ability to know someone who does a specific thing whenever anybody asks is insane. Like if somebody needs someone to, do Facebook marketing, you know a guy. If you need someone who you know has a luxury brand that has a specific product, like you know the right person. And so you're very well connected, and you have like this mental Rolodex of people that you can call on, and this network, like this very tight network and large network that you can call on. And I think that's been a big part of your success. And so, I mean, you tell me if that's true or not, but I kind of want to get into how you have built that network and how you do network, the kind of the principles for networking, because, you know, you're a young dude and you started out, obviously you were even younger, and you've been able to command the attention of not only people who are much older and well established, you know, compared to when you were starting out, but name brands and like household names. So can you kind of expand on that a little bit? And you don't have to unpack everything. I know that was a lot to take in, but is networking a part of is a big part of your success? Do you think your ability to network?
I think networking is everything for as far as I've come so far. I think networking is the key to, I don't like to say to my success because I don't think I'm successful, but to a certain amount of success, yes. Let's say, within what I'm doing. So I think networking was the most important part of it because it's allowed me to meet the right people. And I was talking about paving that way. It's allowed me to really pave that way and take it one step at a time. So if you ask me, if I can just like recap what you just said, your question was how I managed to network or how I managed to build something out of a network.
Yeah, I mean, I guess one place we could start is how have you cultivated this ability to, or how have you built your network? I guess let's start there. Like, what are some of the principles and or strategies that you've used to build your network that you have?
One of the key principles is that I was never afraid to ask the right questions to the right people, because I believe in the principle that if you don't ask, you don't know. And if you don't know, you'll never be able to get somewhere. So don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to ask. This is a very, very, very important principle to networking.
Like reaching out to somebody?
Reaching out to people. Don't be scared to reach out. Don't be scared to ask questions to the people around you. Don't be scared to just go for it. Like if you need something, don't be scared to ask. But I will touch on that point because you must have a purpose for asking and a reason to ask and something to give back. But the first I want to actually take a few steps back here before even getting to networking. Okay, before even getting there, people, especially young people, because I have a personal brand and I'm 24 years old, so a lot of people that reach out to me are like 17 to 25, right? And they tell me, Farokh, how do I figure out what I love? How do I figure out what I want to do as a career and what I want to become? This starts by figuring out your why, figuring out who you are. I was lucky enough to find that out pretty early in my life. Some people don't find out until they're 50, 60. That's not a big deal. Everyone's made different. No one's made the same. Okay. So first, I would say take a step back, write down what you're good at, write down what you want to, what you really want to become, what you want to do, your goals, your aspirations and everything, and figure out your why. Why do you want to do what you want to do? And how are you going to express it? How are you going to put it to work? Right. And then you figure out what you're going to do. So let's say my why always was I'm very talkative, as you can probably notice and you've known. And I always believed that my voice deserves to be heard. I always believed that. And I always wanted to inspire people. And I always wanted to spread my message which was always of positivity. And then now my message became more about being authentic, integral, about working hard and that, you can achieve whatever you want if you really go for it and just stay disciplined, right? But back then, it was really, I always believe my voice, deserved to be heard. So how am I going to do that? I'm going to build a platform for myself because of social media. Because social media allows 17-year-old Farokh to get 100,000 followers. So I started building a platform. I started building my social media. And once I started building my social media, I was able to use that as a leverage in order to get to the people that I needed to get to one by one. Which is what I wanted to come to, which is the most important point. If you want to network, the most important principle is to build yourself first, become an expert at one thing or at something, become good at what you're doing, right? And then use that as a leverage to get to the people that you want to get to and get what you need from them, as long as you give back. I believe in the win-win more than anything else. I will never reach out to someone if I'm not certain that I have something to give back to them in exchange. And this is what I tell people who today I'm in the position where a lot of people ask to work for me and to work with me, And I tell them, what are you good at? I even made a Google sheet last time, like a month ago. I said, hey guys, let's work. Whoever wants to work with me and be part of my journey for the next year, because I'm rebuilding my company and opening multiple verticals. Answer your question. Where are you from? What's your name? And then what are you good at? And what have you done? And I've been going through that sheet nonstop in order to find people to work with me, because I think leverage is the most important thing that you have. So first of all, find out your why. Then figure out which, niche or which industry you're going to get into. then develop a skill set and master it, and then go after building a network. And that's how at a young age I got to all these big names that everyone like talks about all the time on social media. You know, I was invited on Andy Frisella's podcast in 2016, 3 years ago. Shout out to Andy Frisella. Shameless plug right there, because he put me on big time, but only because I was able to develop a certain skill where he invited me on because he knew that there was value in me, not because I was just average Joe, right? Same thing for Gary V. Same thing for even you. I networked my way through. I finessed my way in genuinely, authentically, because I had something to provide to these people. My key rule, though, which is very important, I want everybody to really take this extremely like seriously, because it's not even a joke or anything, is never, ever, ever, ever reach out to someone or try and network with someone if you have nothing to bring to the table, because then you're just going to be a waste of time. And you will never be forgotten for that. If you try and network with someone once and you wasted their time, they're never going to forget you. And then you're not going to have a second chance.
That's an important point that I actually want to get into a little bit more. I just wanted to kind of flag the term networking, because sometimes when we talk about quote unquote networking, it sounds almost mercenary, like it's this like mechanical thing that you do and that it's all business, you know, and it's a little bit of a, I don't want to say sleazy term, but some people have negative associations with the word. But correct me if I'm wrong, but dude, I think that networking is really just like developing healthy relationships with people in your industry and even outside of your field. But it's really just about relationships, you know, it's about developing harmonious relationships, and in an authentic way, not in a way that's like, oh, you're going to do something for me if I do something for you, because that's just a transaction. That's business, right? And fair enough, because business needs to be done, and that's part of the point of networking, right? But what I like about your philosophy, and you just touched on it right now, is that the first principle is like, see what you can do for someone else. I had an example of this in my own life just recently, actually. So people often ask if they can like work for me or if I can hire them in some capacity, which I think is really funny. You probably get many more of these inquiries than I do, but I don't have I don't hire anybody. I hire like a few contractors to edit things, and so I don't have a lot of people in my business who I need to hire. But anyway, I get these inquiries, and the other day, this was a couple weeks ago, there was this person that I started following on Instagram whose content I liked, and I responded to one of his stories, and I was like, oh, you know, I love the graphics that you make, and I love the content, something like that, you know, and he's like, hey, thanks. And then we chatted for a little bit, and then he offered, out of the blue, he's like, hey, if you ever want me to make you a graphic, I'd be happy to. And I'm like, oh, just for Think Grow Prosper? He's like, yeah, if you want me to make you like a quote graphic or turn one of your quotes into like a style that I do, because you mentioned that you like what I do, I'm happy to do that. I'm like, oh, cool. And you know, that's one positive right there. And then he took it a step further, because I was like, that sounds good. I'll see if I can dig up a quote that I want you to work on.
Right.
And then he goes, oh, no, don't worry about it. I'll look through your feed and I'll see what, you know, if there's a quote that fits kind of the style that I want to do. So that's the second positive, because he's like lessening the work for me, you know? And I was like, okay, well, that's pretty cool. And then he takes it a step further and he goes, by the way, so he delivered me this quote, right? He delivered me this graphic. It's a really pretty graphic that he made, actually. It was actually a slideshow. It was a slideshow of like 10 different graphics. And so I was like, okay, well, this is really cool. I liked it. It was quality work, dude. Like, he took a lot of time on it. And after he delivered it to me, he goes, hey, don't worry about crediting me on this. Like, don't worry about tagging me. I just wanted to give this to you, and I wanted to provide value. I've followed you since I was a teenager, and I think that you have a really cool page, and your message is great, and I just wanted to give this to you as a gift. And I was like stunned. I was like, wow.
Right? He came to you with value to bring you, and he showed you his guns before.
And not only that, if I thought that he may have been trying to get something from me, if I had any inkling, that vanished as soon as he said, oh, don't worry about crediting me. That was like, wow. And now I don't know if that's a sustainable practice all the time, because obviously there needs to be some value exchange. But I'll tell you what, man, that interaction, it made me I'm really considering hiring him in some capacity for Think, Grow, Prosper, because I really, really thought that was so genuine. It showed his genuineness and his authenticity in wanting to actually help and give without receiving. So I think that's what you're talking about, right?
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Because of course, at some point, like, you got to stop giving, and start thinking about like your own, your own self as well, which is not selfish, just being self-aware. So you can only give so much, but you got to give freely without thinking about taking something in return. So when I say like find someone and leverage, what I truly mean is know that you have this in your back pocket, right? Which is your skill set, but go and give, and you'll receive. If you network with the right person, you'll receive 10x, and you're about to give him 10x. I'm sure you are. And I have the similar examples and like that, like I have a lot of people that always ask me, let's work together. And then this guy, he's 17 years old, kept asking, let me do some designs for you, and do some designs. Okay. One day I said, let's do it. And recently, and he started doing graphic designs for me, just like nonstop for like stores that I own. And they were sick. And now I'm working with him on like a ton of different projects. And not only that, I'm actually making him money because I'm bringing him my clients directly to him.
Win-win.
Yeah, win-win.
Yeah, it really is. Like, that's such a powerful thing, like giving without the expectation of receiving.
You gotta give freely without having the expectation. See, when I started Instagram, it's funny because you're mentioning how we met the first time when I just started, right? And like you're my Dr. Dre to my Eminem, right? Do you remember what I used to do for you? And I actually with all these accounts, since I had I had a really good eye for good content and I was good at editing, I used to make the quotes for everybody.
Yeah.
I used to make all of everyone's quotes. Well, not all, but you know what I mean, to a certain extent. But I was making quotes, delivering content for people, pumping out content. And I would say, just take it. And at some point, these people, which is you guys, started giving me shout outs. And it's those shout outs that built me.
It's the principle of reciprocation. This is, straight out of the book Influence. Like, if you give someone something, we have this instinct to give back. But again, it's really, you shouldn't give with the intention of expecting back, but know that this is an operating principle that actually has validity in psychology. Like at the airport, there's sometimes these people that hand you like a rose, and, the idea is you've received something for free, and so you want to reciprocate with, a donation or something like that. And so that's just a principle of psychology that I think is at play here, and that you can kind of use to your advantage if you do it in a way that's integrous. Then that's an important point, because really this is all under the banner of being a good person and just being a genuinely good human being who like wants to help people. That's kind of what it amounts to, right?
I know. I agree with you. I totally agree with you.
So that's kind of the first principle. Is there anything else that has contributed to your success in being able to build relationships with people that are kind of outside, like up a level from you?
I went straight for the biggest people because I never wanted to I always had like very big ambitions, but I think that's what I did. I mean, look, I provided value. I developed a certain skill set. I developed my own network. And then, it got me to a certain position, and that's what I keep doing, And now you told me, that's what the first thing you told me, which is why my name popped up in your mind when you talk networking and said I have a big Rolodex, is because I've just expanded it so much that I have someone for everything. And even for things that are totally irrelevant, honestly. I just know somebody that can do something. And if I can't, I'll just make a call and find them.
Right.
And that's because I've developed that skill. Networking is a skill on its own, And if you go back to, let's go back actually to the definition of networking. I pulled up while you were talking real quick on the Merriam-Webster dictionary, right? And I looked up networking, and the definition it gives you is networking, the exchange of information or services amongst individuals, groups, or institutions. Specifically, the cultivation of productive relationships for employment or business. Same thing, I would even add for personal relations. Okay, so it's even friendship. You network and you become friends. Actually, you network and you might meet the love of your life.
Exactly.
So I think that and that's what it is. It's productive. Make sure it's productive, but in every level. Productive doesn't mean monetary value, and a lot of people forget that. And I think that the reason that this whole thing has gotten negative is because network marketing came into play, and a lot of people started saying, "Oh, I'm networking. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I'm going to events and that." But I've attended maybe 4 events in the last 5 years. I've been on social media and invited to like hundreds, and I've only spoken to 2 because I built a whole network of people from my cell phone and from my Instagram, because I built a following for myself. I built a name for myself. I built a reputation with, of course, a track record. So it was not just fluff. It's not just smoke and mirrors. And I used that in my advantage. So the account Good Life, for example, allowed me to reach out to a lot of these brands, allowed me to either have something in relation, like in exchange, right? For business purposes, of course. Now that we're talking about productive exchange of business, right? So now I can go to a brand and say, hey, I do 10 million impressions a week in luxury niche. That's value. And on the personal level, well, I've developed certain skill sets because, I've learned a lot about business. I've learned about, how to stay on track, be a good person, be this and this, and I improve every day. So it allowed me to, build great relationships even personally and have great friends. So I think that it's very important. And you really, it's a constant work that you do on yourself. It's not just one word. It's not just one thing. Yes, there's key things that you must do. Like I said, find out who you are, find out what you want to become, find out how to do that, and then become really good at it in order to provide value to the next person. That's like the 101s, if you ask me. But then you always have to keep improving and keep adapting, because society changes at the speed of light. People change at the speed of light. Science changes at the speed of light. Social media, the internet, everything. So you must always adapt in order to keep providing that value and also keep becoming a better person, a better entrepreneur, a better worker, a better employee, a better everything.
Yeah, I think what you're kind of describing there is the difference between a principle and a strategy. Because the principle is be a good person, be genuine, and want to help people, provide value. That's the principle. Like, reach out and provide value to someone without expecting something in return. But the strategies, like you just said, might change over the years. Meaning, like, the way that you do that might evolve. You might maybe making someone a graphic in a year from now isn't enough. Like, it's going to evolve how you approach it.
Back then you had to attend the events. Now you can just hit up in the DMs. Strategy. That's strategy right there. But the principle is that you have to be outgoing, and you have to not be scared to ask and not be scared to go forward. That's a principle. So it's really principle versus strategy. If you and the strategy changes, the principles stay the same always. You have to be kind. You have to be good. That's never going to change, because you have to, you know what? Actually, I'm going to tell you something. First person I had the chance to network with, which was like a big shot from the get-go, is Steve Mayer. Remember? He's one of the homies. He's always been a mentor of mine. What did Steve teach me? One day, I used to be like that little kid. Like, I had made quite a bit of money on social media, whatever. And I was like turning down clients every time they would insult me. Meaning that when I wasn't happy with the price they were willing to pay me, I would tell them to fuck off. And that was wrong with me. But you know what? It was really insulting sometimes. I wasn't necessarily wrong, but the way of conveying my message was totally wrong. What did I do? I said, Steven, trying to do this, trying to do that. He said, listen, Farokh. And I'll never forget this sentence for the rest of my life. He said, be the kind of person everybody wants to work with. Be the kind of person everybody wants to work with. Meaning, don't sell yourself short, of course. Don't be a sellout. Stay true to your principles, of course. Stay true to yourself. But be kind. Be respectful. Be respectable. Because even if you turn down a business with respect, maybe they'll refer you. Maybe someone can't afford you. Maybe someone down the line will be able to afford you and turn out to be your biggest client or your best friend.
And it's a funny thing about this is that I agree. I think this is super important. Like, to be this is another important principle. Like, be the type of person that people want to work with. But again, this falls under the banner of like working on yourself and being a good person. And so I think that's so interesting. Like, you can't fake it. You really cannot fake
you can't.
this.
You can't fake being good.
and so if you want to get further in business or in whatever field that you're in, a lot of it depends on who you know. A lot of it depends on the people you surround yourself with, right? And a lot of that is opened up when you're able to be the person that people want to work with. Like, you have to work on yourself first.
I do want to add a little thing, because to the defense of a lot of people out here that are going to be listening to you, and maybe they don't have the tools to, maybe like sometimes it's a gift too, you know. And a lot of people, they tell me, listen, Farokh, like I'm trying to do whatever you tell me to do, but like it doesn't, I'm kind, I'm this and that, but it's just not working. And I guess another key principle and a key trait, let's say, is to be relentless. Don't take no for an answer. You know how many times I DM'd the message Steven before he was like, okay, you know what, screw it, I'm going to answer this kid. But I knew that we would kick it. I knew it. So it's the same thing with everybody. I when I want something, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to get it, until I have it. And I'm not going to say no, take no for an answer. And I think people need to be relentless. Like a lot of people in my DMs, at some point I'm like, God, you're annoying. And at the end, I'm like, wait, okay, what do you want? And it turns out we develop great relationships. Don't give up. Don't give up on yourself. If you really need to meet someone, you want to meet someone, and you think that you can bring really proper value to them, that you can build a good business or personal relationship, go for it. I never stop. And I hate when people are scared of reaching out to someone like this, because today you don't even have to reach out to someone by phone or by face, man. All you got to do is send a message, an email. You know what? On Instagram, you want to reach out to me, you can find my friends. You know what someone did, Ruben, back in 3 years ago on Facebook? I was never answering their DMs and their Facebook message. Not my fault. I mean, I couldn't see them all the time. And they reached out to my mother. They said, I know that you're coming to France soon, because I posted I'm going to Paris. And they said, I would love to meet your son. I'm a big fan of his.
They reached out to your mother on Instagram?
On Facebook.
And then your mom told you?
And my mom told me, and she's like, listen, this kid looks cool. He's like, and then you know what? I went to lunch with him, and we had a great time. And I brought value to him. I'm glad I did. And then, he was a kind person, and I made a friend. Today we're in the day and age of telecommunications and media and all of that. Oh my God. Everyone's on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube, and email.
Yeah. Well, I think you made a good point. It is important to not give up, and you said be relentless. But there does come a point when you can possibly turn someone off if you're going about it in a way that's like not appropriate. I was reading something that you wrote, and the way that you approached like reaching out to people was often you would reach out to someone that they knew to ask what it is that was important to them, right, like what it is that they need. Yes. And so you went about it in a very methodical way. And I think that's important to point out, is that like you can be a good person, you can be kind, but if you're not going about it in a methodical way and you're just reaching out to people relentlessly, you can be annoying. And that's going to be counterproductive. So I think the being methodical is also important, wouldn't you say?
You have to be methodical, yeah, and you have to. It's also, again, that's strategy, right? That falls under strategy as well. Is like just reach out to someone that they know or someone that works for them, and then say, hey, you know what? What can I bring to him? What can I do for him? What do you think he needs? And how can I answer? Always. So when you own a company, right, there are problems, and your goal as a company, as a CEO, is to find solutions, right, to those problems. And so everybody has problems, and everybody needs solutions. So even the biggest entrepreneurs in the world, especially the biggest entrepreneurs in the world, they have even more problems than anyone. So just find out how you can bring a solution and how you can, put a fire out, and then, and then I think you're going to be able to reach out to them and to actually like communicate and like network with them.
Basically, do your homework.
Do your homework. Homework is important in every industry and everything you're trying to do. Develop skill sets, business, personal relations, everything. You have to do your homework. It's very important. And people forget that. Like, don't reach out to someone via DM saying, "Oh, hi, please help me," or say, "How can I help you?" No, even that doesn't work anymore today because everybody's doing that. You got to bring true value. Say, "My name is XYZ. I do this, this, and that, and I can bring this value to you by, because, I am good at that." It's very vague what I just said, but because everyone is different.
Well, I want to get into that because I think that maybe being a little bit more specific might be useful. And I know that we can't cover every single scenario, but for the person who's sitting there and maybe it's a young person just like starting out, right? Just like you were at 18 or whatever. And that maybe they haven't cultivated a particular skill yet. Are they kind of dead in the water? Like, is the first step cultivating a particular skill that you can then exchange for some value? Or, like, what should they do?
That's a good question. I mean, it's true that a lot of people don't even know what they're good at.
So is the first step self-awareness,
I
maybe?
think the first step is self-awareness, which is what I said, find out your why.
Right.
You know, because I thought of that question a lot, Ruben. I always said, oh, figure out what you're good at, figure out what you're good at, that was always my first answer, figure out what you're good at. And then I took a step back and said, no, Farokh. First, you got to find out why you're doing it. And what is your why? Like who you are. A lot of people are very mistaken, Ruben. And that's the most common mistake today. Instead of looking for what you're good at, instead of looking and trying different things, see you don't want to study this, you want to study that. Instead of trying all these different things and perhaps even failing a lot of them and then beating yourself up, take a step back and figure out who you are. Figure out really, in essence, who you are. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's vital in order to do anything, really. You have to know who you are and what you're good at and what you like, what you don't like. But I guess my question is, how did you do that? And what are some of the ways that a young person can go about doing that? Like for me, like around the time I started Think Grow Prosper is when I really started figuring this out. Is that if I just like be honest with myself about the things that are like exciting me right now, the things that are like piquing my interest, and give my attention to those things, even if they're not making me money, even if they're not producing results right now. But if I kind of follow the breadcrumbs of what it is that's sparking my interest at the moment, it kind of leads me to what it is that I should be doing at that particular point in my life. Case in point, Think Grow Prosper, I was reading a lot of books and I was trying to pull myself out of kind of a depressive hole. And during that time, I was wanting to learn these principles of like success and of creating my own reality the way I wanted it. And I was writing them down, and it was very exciting to me to kind of sort out these principles. And it turns out that a lot of people got value from that. And that's what Think Grow Prosper that's how we started. But what do you think, man? Like, how do people find themselves, find what they're good at, find what they want to do? Like, what are some of your viewpoints on that?
Figuring out who you are is probably the hardest thing a human being can do. Because we often are good at describing other people, right? What's the best freaking thing we're good at is pointing fingers.
Right.
We're good at describing other people. Oh, he's like this, or he's like that. Or we're better at complimenting other people. Forget insulting, being negative. We're better at being positive towards other people and complimenting them about their style or their being than complimenting ourselves.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
And I think that to really find your why, and you really, really have to look within yourself deeply. And like you said, like you started writing things down, etc. Like, like who are you and what's your purpose? Your purpose might be, I want to be rich. I want to have money. Your purpose might be, I want to change the world. Your purpose can be, I want to develop a certain skill. Your purpose can be, I want to change an industry. Those are some things that you think about, and then you go from there.
Well, some people that might even be too big. That's why, some people are like, oh, purpose. Oh my God, like I have to figure out the one thing right now. And so that's why I'm a big proponent of like, okay, let's go let's look at it from a very small, daily, granular level. Like a lot of the times, what you are good at and what it is that you should be pursuing is like right under your nose, and you're not even looking at it. Like I've had my friend Jonathan Fields on this podcast, and he has a system of actually finding out what sparks you and what interests you from an archetypal standpoint. Like there's 10 different, he calls them sparketypes, and it's a really cool system. I'd recommend checking it out. But anyway, I think the idea, and tell me what you think about this, dude, but I think the idea is that a lot of the time, what it is that we like and the things that are connected to our purpose are a lot closer than we think they are. In your case, you were on social media for a long time doing a lot like before you even started your business, you were spending a lot of time on social media, right? And that ended up being the thing that you made a business out of, and it was kind of attached to your purpose in some way. Now, obviously, that's that's not true for everyone. There's a lot of people who spend time on social media and they do it to waste time. But you have to take an inventory of why you're doing certain things. Like, why are you on social media? What specifically, what aspect of the thing are you interested in? You're interested in the business aspect of it. So that kind of cues you into the fact that, oh, well, maybe this is a path that could be financially lucrative for me, you know?
I can't even add into this. I think you're right about everything you just said.
Did I just do a mic drop?
Yes, you did. No, I mean, it's a great point. Yeah, at some point, I mean, there's nothing more you can do but to, take a step back and think about all those things,
I want to take a brief moment to talk about one of our sponsors for this show, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with over 25,000 classes in pretty much any field you can think of. Writing, photography, cooking, even social media marketing, just to name a few. One of the many reasons that I love and promote Skillshare is because their core values of learning and growing are very much in alignment with my own, and I'm sure if you're listening to this, with yours too. I'll tell you about one of my favorite classes that I've ever taken with Skillshare. It was a productivity masterclass, and it was all about creating systems in your life and business. And it was taught by this pretty well-known YouTuber, and it completely changed how Vanessa and I run our business. It helped give us our time back by helping us to create systems that streamlined and organized our content creation and our editorial calendar for Think Grow Prosper. Massively, massively helpful. And here's the cool news. Right now, Skillshare is offering listeners of the Think Grow podcast 2 months free, so you can try it out for yourself. Go to Skillshare.com/thinkgrow. You'll get unlimited access to 25,000 classes for a full 2 months at no cost. So it's basically a risk-free situation here. The specific URL that you want to visit for this offer is Skillshare.com/thinkgrow. Check it out. Join the millions of other students who are learning and growing with Skillshare. I've used it for a while. I love it. I think you will too. Again, that URL is Skillshare.com/thinkgrow. And now, back to the show. Here's something else I wanted to ask you, man, and I know that I want to be respectful of your time here, but I had a couple more things that I wanted to ask you. So you wrote this article that I was reading, and it was kind of about networking also, and in it you have the quote, "Content is king, but distribution is queen." So what do you mean by that, and how does that relate to what we're talking about here?
I always say that. That's like the key principle to marketing today is content is king and distribution is queen. Meaning that content is extremely important. I just don't mean like pumping out content. I always tell people, yes, you always have to produce. You always have to, you have to take videos, take photos, this and that. But make sure you're providing value in it, and make sure that it's quality content as well. Don't just put things out and then you give yourself a bad reputation. You know what I mean? Like, and also like you get a bad look. So content is extremely important today when you're trying to market anything. But then distribution is queen, and people like sleep on that, because distribution is the media distribution side of things. Like when you try to when you blast it on social media, Facebook, Instagram, media buying, Snapchat, Twitter, this and that. Distribution is so important because you can have the most beautiful content in the world and you might be seen by nobody. Yeah, it's fine. I mean, you might hit the spot where like you have 1 or 2 examples of people that go super viral, like Salt Bae, like his content was great, right? He went and he got 50 million followers, right? And then he kept going on a consistent basis with good content. Okay, you might be DJ Khaled, but he was already famous. He goes like, another one, Keys, and then he was viral, right? But not everybody are these people, you know? A piece of content is important, but I think that the way you distribute that content is extremely important, meaning the channels that you're going to be using, the way that you're going to be distributing it, okay? So let's say you own a product. Well, your content is good, but are you setting up the right ads? Are you advertising with the right influencers? That's distribution, and that's exactly what I mean.
Got it. So it's relating to the platform and how you distribute the content, but also is there a component of like how consistent you are and how you approach it? Is that part of it?
Yes, but so right now this piece of content is very valuable. So the Think or Prosper podcast is valuable to people, right? It's content. Your podcast is content. But your distribution is the fact that you have 3 million followers and you're going to post it on it. So the way you distribute that piece of content is really important. And then let's say you get shouted out by X, Y, and Z. That's distribution. The way you're gonna make that bigger and you put it out there, that's your distribution. And I think it's extremely important, and they go hand to hand. And to some point, actually, sometimes, damn, I've seen distribution take over content. I've seen people build brands with awful content and go crazy because they had a lot of money and they had the right distribution method. I see people doing drop shipping and e-commerce, whatever, selling anything and everything with the ugliest pieces of content, but they're very smart. They're very good at distribution. They know where to buy media. They know how to buy media. They know how to target. They know how to run campaigns. So distribution is extremely important. Like that's just something I always tell everybody. Content is king. Distribution is queen. They go hand in hand together. And one doesn't go without the other. If you ask me, yeah, you might have a crazy, like I said, there's always this viral piece, like, but you can always go win the lottery. You know what I mean? So you can keep trying to win the lottery, or you can like actually push your luck. And distribution is pushing your luck.
Okay. Another question I had. This is getting more personal here. This is just for my own benefit, I think. But I saw on, I think it was a post of yours, that you said something to the effect of, you think, okay, this was kind of like a reintroduction of Farokh to social media, kind of a post. And then at the end of it, because you had taken a little bit of a break, right, to kind of reassess and reevaluate. And then
I know which post you're talking about. Yes.
Yeah. And then at the end, you said something to the effect of that you think attention has been directed toward the wrong things and largely the wrong people lately. What were you talking about social media? What were you talking about there?
Yes, so I strongly believe that the attention in the last few months has been retargeted to the wrong people and wrong things. So we know for a fact that the human being's attention scientifically is less than a redfish today. Why? Because the attention is all over the place. There's so many different social media platforms, and within those platforms are so many users. There's 2.5 billion people on Facebook, 1 billion people on IG, 1 billion people on I don't know what, on Messenger, 1 billion people on WhatsApp. Then you have like I don't know how many hundreds of millions on Snapchat. And on this and that, right? You have so many people all over the place. And on YouTube, forget even YouTube. That's another whole other world there. There's no more attention span. And the attention is directed towards the wrong things and the wrong places. Actually, I'm going to say this to you on your podcast for the first time. I believe that we are living a cultural shift, a natural selection on social media. Meaning that all the people that were not authentic, that were not integral, that were not real over the last few years, that built a following, are going to get evacuated, kicked out of the attention span of people, because the consumer today, the follower, is not stupid and is very well aware and educated. Whether you're faking until you make it, whether you're selling a fake product, whether you're scamming this and that, you are going to be naturally selected. And I believe that we are living a huge shift in 2019, even more so in 2020, where all these fakes are going to leave to make room again for the people that were there at first, the OGs or the new people that are genuine. Do you know how many people I know that have 1,000 followers that have built much bigger business, are much more integral people inside at heart, within their guts as well, than the people with 1 million followers? And this is what I'm fighting today, because for so long, we've given attention to these people for their glam and this and that, for their cars, for this. But we are wrong, Ruben. It is wrong. And it's affected people. Actually, as a matter of fact, listen, and don't quote me on this, and it's not scientifically proven. Perhaps it is. I'll do some research. I'm pretty sure that the depression rate is at an all-time high. Okay? I'm sure. If I go Google it right now and then look at studies, everybody is depressed. Why? Social media has been depressing people. In a part, someone can say, well, Farokh, it's your fault because you're part of the social media and you're pushing these people. Yes, I agree with you, which is why I decided, and I've been doing this for a long time, so maybe it's not me and my fault per se, but I'm someone who essentially deals attention, right? Likes, followers, and this and that. So I have to use my voice. I have to use my following, my platform that I built for myself, my millions of followers. And I invite everybody listening to this, and I dare you, I challenge you to do so. And you're already doing so. which I respect that a lot, to shift people's attention towards good, towards greatness, towards kindness, but please, most importantly, towards integrity and authenticity. If you're not authentic in 2018, you're going to get rejected from the face of earth. Believe me.
2019.
2018. Oh, wait, year? Oh, 2019. I'm sorry. 2019. I was so into what I'm saying because I mean that, Ruben. Like, I'm so passionate about it because I really mean that. Like, it comes from I can't even say it comes from my heart or my soul. Like, this comes from my protons, bro. It's so deep. Like chromosomes. Like seriously, I mean that. Like, and we're living a shift right now. We're living a shift. I see a lot of people around me. They're not even relevant anymore because they were faking it until they make it, and people like got tired of it.
Yeah.
Trust me. Natural selection. Eat or be eaten. The big shark will eat the smaller shark, which will eat the smaller fish, and this and that. And I don't mean big companies eating small companies. I mean real people. Literally will start becoming bigger and bigger and bigger, taking a bigger space. Real people, real brands, real companies, real goods, real products, real everything. And all the rest are going to get evacuated naturally. So with movers and shakers, it starts with shifters. Revolutions were never started like that. Revolts, it was never started like that. People started putting a thought process into the minds of people that was positive, started implementing a certain movement. Brands started becoming more real right now, so we're seeing the fake brands get away from it. But if we become more real and we start pushing those kids, and listen, and I'm someone who likes nice things, Ruben, okay, and I like nice shoes and I like nice clothes, but that has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. Materialism and the love for good things and finding craftsmanship are two different things. But I'm saying if you're not promoting these people that are all about like big cars and this and that, and they want to sell you a course or this and that because they say they made it, but they haven't in the back end, that's not the way to go. But if you're authentic, true to yourself, and you reward yourself, and people see that, I think that you're going to become a much more impactful thought leader, and that's very important today.
That makes sense. I agree with you. I think that our attention is being so divided that we're going to only have cognitive bandwidth for the things that are real. We're so burnt out.
We can only take so much, bro. People aren't stupid. It's over. Maybe they were never stupid to start with, by the way. So I don't mean that way. They were not as educated as before. The consumer, the follower 3 years ago on social was not as educated as before. But today, we've become better at cutting through bullshit. Okay, like an X-ray vision right there. You know what I mean? So I can tell within a second if someone's full of shit or not. And I think that's because I've been in the industry, so I know the back ends of it. But I think that the average follower that's listening to me right now will be able to tell whether I'm trying to fool them to build my brand for myself, or if I'm being real. As a matter of fact, I'm not even doing this with you because I want something out of it, or because I want to reward myself or put myself on a pedestal, which is why you don't hear us speaking about myself that much. Is I'm doing this strictly because I want to pass my message along. And it's funny because when I messaged you, I said, hey, I saw you got a podcast. Let's try and do something together. And I told you something. I said, because I want to spread my message. And this is the message. About how to network and stuff, of course, because it's something that I've developed. It's a skill I can speak for. But this piece that you just brought up is, to me, one of the most important things in my fight. This is my fight. And we're going to win it.
I love it, man. I love it. That's a really good place, I think, to leave off. But before we sign off, I want to, first tell everybody how they can get in contact with you. And then I have a question for you.
To get in contact with me, I think the best place is my Instagram. And my Instagram page, my personal page, of course, is Farokh. Farokh. F like Franco, Arokh. You can just hit me in the DMs, or, I like and I answer every single comment on my new posts, literally myself. So that's the best way to reach out to me. And then if ever I think like there's the bigger relation that we can go on, I usually send people my cell phone number, my email. But that's if really I see like there's something going on here, But I answer all the questions. Like when I post a story and I do polls, I answer all the questions. So if it's just to ask me a question, I'd rather someone go ask it to me via DM. I'll do my best to answer them,
Yeah, you're really engaged. I've seen that. And I guess finally, what do you want to leave people with? Like, what's the one takeaway that you want someone to who's listened to this podcast to leave with?
The most important piece of advice that I can give someone listening to this podcast is to stay true to yourself, to stay authentic, to never give up, and to never let anyone step on your feet or tell you that you can't do something. Now, this sounds very generic, but I want to say it again and again and again because it's not that generic when you look at the essence of it, okay? And then I want to say something else as well, and I want everyone to take that away from this podcast. Is about networking, because we spoke about two different things, right? They go hand in hand because you have to be kind and authentic if you want to network. But if you want to network right, and again, I'm going to say it again, make sure that you build a skill set and then you practice. And then you go and give value to people before trying to get something out of it. Stop thinking about me. Stop thinking, what am I going to get out of this? Because if you go into a meeting with someone, right? Or talk to someone with the mindset of what can I get out of this? You lost. You lost the game. If you go into a meeting with someone and you try to network with someone, think about what you can give to them without always asking for something in exchange, then you will win. Because maybe 9 out of 10 people will not give back to you, but that one person might give you enough for you to change your life and for you to build a career or a business or even to build yourself as a person.
I love that. I think that was really well put. And that's a perfect place to end. So, like you said, I have nothing to add to that. You just did the mic drop there.
There you go. Boom. Mic drop, baby.
Hey, thanks for listening. You can find the show notes for this episode and all other episodes on my website at thinkgrowprosper.com/podcast. That's where I put all the links and resources mentioned in each episode. It's also where I put the outlines of topics covered, which is a really good way to refer back to episodes in the future. Lastly, if you enjoyed this episode, I'd love to hear about it. Feel free to leave a review on iTunes with your biggest takeaway. I make it a point to read all the reviews. You can also screenshot this episode and share it to your social media along with something you learned or found interesting. And tag me in your post because I'd love to see what you found interesting. Say hi and thank you for your support.